we want to give you all of the tools so that you can clean up your accounts, increase coverages. When you are remarketing, how you're going to present that remarket, the time that it's going to take, how we're going to refresh the applications, and really qualifying for a remarket and how we're going to reject a remarket as well. Hi, all my heroes out there in insurance land. Welcome. Bobby Fernandez here from Agency Performance Partners, Performance Coach. And I am so excited to be talking to you about our 6th lesson in our Hard Market Heroes series. And for those of you that have been following along, lesson 1 was how to lead and train your team. There's some really, really great topics in there for leaders, how to help manage your team through this hard market. So if you've missed these sessions, please make sure that you go back and you buy the recordings because they really build on one another to this hard marketing strategy and remarket and how we're going to process through this funnel and get our clients to understand if we will or won't remarket. The first lesson was leading the team. The second lesson is managing your time. Managing time is going to be so important during this hard market. And so it's going to be real important to go back and review that information. Also, lesson 3 was building confidence and working with our carriers. So important right now, working with carriers and building that confidence to have those conversations about rate. Lesson 4 is having the rate conversation. And then lesson 5 is renewal reviews, doing them both inbound and outbound. And so now we're on to lesson 6. I'm sure you guys are really starting to understand your hard market superpowers and becoming the heroes that you need to be in this market. And so now we're going to talk about some of the remarketing strategies that are coming up in this next section. I want to just jump in. How many of you have ever gotten a call from a client that said, we just want to remarket. I just want to know, what's going on with my account. And we just jump in and we think, oh, well, that's great. I'm just going to go over here and get these 3 other quotes and present them to you. But that's not the world that we're living in now. We may not even be able to get 3 quotes. So we need to make sure that we've gone through the process of explaining and understanding why we're in the situation that we're in, that we've really talked to the client about it and understand if remarketing is really the direction that we want to go. And so from a time management standpoint, remarketing is really one of the most labor-intensive things and activities that account managers work on every day. Personal lines with a personal home and an auto can take 60 minutes or more. Commercial lines, small commercial, 60 minutes. Some of you that maybe do larger commercial, you're going to tell me 60 to 90 days probably. So we know that these things take a long time to do. And so we want to be proactive and we need to have a plan and we need to have a strategy. We need to make sure that we're training our clients when they should be requesting a remarket and why. And often, agencies are so backlogged that they miss remarketing opportunities and we miss on expectations that potentially we have already set with the client. And so we want to make sure that we're always creating wow customer service moments. So we can't be promising remarkets and then not delivering because that's not a great customer experience. We're also going to talk about when we do a remarket, that it also decreases our book size. Rather than jumping to a remarket, we want to make sure that our teams are trained on how to have conversations about rate, not just say, hey, we're just going to leap into a remarket without a plan. We want to make sure that we're not missing an opportunity to improve coverage or gather discounts on their current policies. We want to make sure that most account managers, and maybe this is just speaking from my experience, but we don't necessarily love remarketing, having to go and enter data into A carrier system and then B carrier system. Hopefully you're using a rater, so you're being able to complete information a little bit more quickly, but it still takes time. And when rate increases, it can cause a lot of anxiety because we feel like we have to defend that rate. But guess what, guys? We didn't set the rate, right? We don't have any control over the rate. And a lot of account managers can really be torn because we really want to save our client. We really want to help our client. We don't want them to leave us. A lot of times they'll jump to a remarket rather than potentially lose them. But communication from the agency can really vary in regards to that. So we want to make sure that we're giving people a clear pathway and a clear strategy because we want to be able to solve concerns quickly, but we need to understand what it is that we're doing. An upset client is just an upset client. What we need to do is understand the problem. We can't just immediately jump to what we feel the problem is and how to solve that. We want to dig into it. We want to unpeel that onion and not necessarily promise a remarket. There may be a better option. It might be discounts. It might be increased deductibles. There's a lot of different solutions that we can provide. A lot of times when we feel uncomfortable, we just quickly want to get off that phone, but that's not the way to go. We need to have those conversations, work through a strategy with the client because remarketing is not always the best solution. There's a lot of dangers when it comes to reshopping an account. You may think that we're saving somebody money, but if carriers A went up this year on their rate by 20%, and we shop them over to carrier B because maybe their rate is 10%, only 10% more, well, guess what's going to happen to that carrier that now we're moving everything to? Next year, they're going to take rate and we're going to have to move that account again. And what is that customer experience? We really want to be saving that remarket to the proper time, to the right company. Have you ever moved a customer to another carrier and then they went out and potentially had an inspection issue where now the client has to make an expensive repair on their home or on their business? That maybe that remarket wasn't necessarily the best idea. Or maybe their premium has already been paid by escrow and now there's an escrow payment issue. Maybe I've had some instances where an account gets reshopped and coverage gets missed. And that is the most horrible thing that can happen to an agency because it really exposes an agency to E&O issues. We need to really be careful. The remarket is not an easy button. We don't just slam down the easy button and go, oh, remarket, because we're going to try and get a better number. We want our client to see the value in us and the value in the product that we're providing. And remarketing and getting them to also be driven off of a number is not the relationship that we want to be building. We want to be building a relationship that is based on the value and the understanding of the product that they have. And we really want to make sure that before we go to a remarket that we're having these conversations with the client and we're clearly outlining those challenges that could potentially come up front. During this session, we are going to be providing you some super, super awesome scripts when we're talking about inspections. What if you said something to the client like, are you comfortable with someone coming onto your property to inspect? And then be quiet. Then we're going to be quiet and we're going to let the client respond because we need to know. They may say, no, I'm not really comfortable with that. And so if that's the case, then okay. If not, why don't we go ahead and we'll go back and we'll review those discounts again. It's all about how we phrase those dangers to that client. We have scripts for escrow. We have scripts for down payment. So these are going to be all the things that we're going to empower you with during this session. So if you're not signed up yet, make sure you get signed up immediately right now. This one is going to be full of great content and scripts that you can go and start implementing and using today while you're having those conversations. We're going to talk about how we're going to get an agreement on a plan. Everyone loves a plan. I love a plan. I like to know what I'm going to do each day. We need to set the rules of engagement and how we're going to move forward with the client so they know, so we know, and so that when we make it a big deal, the client feels super, super special. They feel cared about, they feel understood, and they feel heard, and they trust you. And so when we get an agreement, then we know, are we going to give this quote over the phone? If we're going to give them some savings, what are we looking at, right? We need to make sure that we're really identifying what's going on. We also need to make sure that we are getting all of the updates to the underwriting questions. The last thing we want to do is miss something on that underwriting and potentially cause a problem for the client or for ourselves. And then we also want to make sure that we're confirming all of the discounts that apply to them. We want to make sure that we are finding the cause and the root and the source of the problem, of the pain point. We didn't cause this rate increase. I'm going to say it again. You are not the rate setter. You did not set the rate. So there is nothing you can do about the rate. And I know a lot of times calls come in and we feel attacked and we get defensive, but we didn't set the rate. Our job now is to help them understand why this is happening. And as we learned back in our previous sessions and we gained this confidence, we don't need to panic and we don't need to get nervous. We're really just sharing the plan with the client. And so we're going to start and we're going to review our activities with the client. We're going to look at it if they've had any recent endorsements or claims or driving history. We're going to do a deep discount review and understand what are the discounts that are applying and are there discounts that the client is missing. When doing that, what can be really helpful is to empower your team with some common discounts so that they have just a one place to go and understand what those discounts should be. It's a lot easier when we have a place to understand and know and can use as our go-to when we're having those conversations. So the more tools that we can provide for our team and scripts so that they can have those conversations easily, the better off and the more confident that they're going to be in building that relationship and understanding with the client. Then we also need to understand, does this meet our agency standards for a remarket? Sometimes, again, remarketing is not always the solution and it can cause more problems if we aren't careful. Does the client have any open claims? What does their driving history look like? These are all the things that we're going to talk about. So making sure that we understand what are our agency standards for a remarket and then discussing that with the client and making sure, is this a client that we even want to keep at this point? Those of you that are tiering your customers, maybe this is a client that has been a problem for the agency, and now is the time for us to provide them their declaration page and allow them to go to another carrier if we cannot provide them any longer what it is that they need. And that's okay to do that. We want to make sure, do monoline policies qualify for a remarket? We need to make sure our team understands and that they know when a client qualifies for a remarket. Some of the top reasons to decline a remarket would be, claims, driving history. So we're going to talk about all of those reasons and give you the tools to be able to implement in your agency on how to have those conversations and what to do. And I think that's where a lot of times we get stuck. And so there's going to be a lot of scripts about how to have a conversation when maybe a client has pets that don't qualify, or maybe they need electrical updates or a roof update, or maybe they have young drivers or their driving history is not that great. So wouldn't it be great if you had a script for absolutely all of these things that our client might come back with? And if you had all of the tools that you could just simply say to the client if they have an open claim, hey, since you have an active claim with the carrier, I recommend you stay where we are until the claim is finalized. As an active client, they give you a preferred treatment to finalize the claim. That's so much easier than just trying to say, hey, you have an open claim. I don't think it's a good time to move. We're going to give you those tools. We're going to give you those strategies. Again, if you haven't signed up for the last and final session in this series, please make sure that you do so now. We want to see you there. We want to give you all of the tools so that you can clean up your accounts, increase coverages, when you are remarketing, how you're going to present that remarket, the time that it's going to take, how we're going to refresh the applications, and really qualifying for a remarket and how we're going to reject a remarket as well. So these are great information that you're not going to want to miss. It is the last one in the session besides the bonus content that we're doing. And so if you haven't jumped on it yet, make sure you jump on it now. We want to see you there. And you can get all of the recorded sessions. There's also the bonus content on how to stop a cancellation and also a special bonus content for our coastal and fire zone agencies. We know you guys are having some extra special struggles. And then you can also get some of our hard market heroes swag to celebrate your team in our agency store. And so head on over there and we look forward to seeing you in session 6. Have a great day.